The Cameroon Civil War, also known as the Anglophone crisis, has had a dramatic impact on the lives of many Cameroon and Amazonian people. An already bad refugee crisis, as a result of the nearby Central African Civil War, has blown up into almost 700,000 people losing their homes. While many have fled to Nigeria, many continue to move around Cameroon itself. The Cameroon government has not exactly responded to the crisis in an ideal manner, with significant government overreach, including violations of free speech rights and attacks on civilians. This would be bad enough on its own, but the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic has further restricted movement, leaving many remaining Cameroonians unable to leave to work or get food, and those who have been left homeless in a simply impossible situation. Prior to the crisis, at least 16% of Cameroonians were at risk of hunger, but given the combined Anglophone crisis and pandemic, that number is growing significantly. The country is seeing significant incarceration of journalists, teachers, and activists. In Bamenda in 2019, 3 teachers and a student were abducted by an unclear side, and the bilingual students took their exams under the watch of the military. International organizations such as Human Rights Watch and Refugees International have decried the government's response to the situation, as well as many of the actions of separatist militias. What then is being done about this? What can be done? One organization, African Defenders, works closely with the African Union to attempt to protect and advocate for those who have gone missing or been incarcerated. They have repeatedly petitioned the government of Cameroon to protect UN-styled human rights defenders from persecution. They've also created identity cards for other non-government organizations, journalists, and more, which carry information about UN resolutions in regard to human rights defenders and outline the potential risks of continuing to harm them. This is certainly a good thing. As noted anthropologist and physician Hans Rosling said, to get away from poverty, you need several things at the same time: school, health, and infrastructure, and also market opportunities, information, employment, and human rights. Unfortunately, despite the good African Defenders is doing, much of Cameroon remains without many of these things. A more local organization, the Samuel Eto'o Foundation, is working on providing food to those who are at risk of hunger following both the Civil War and the COVID crisis. This organization, being much more local than African Defenders, focuses on specific problem areas and is far more in tune with the people and culture of Cameroon. Far from simply treating a symptom rather than the disease, the Foundation recognizes that the food problem often occurs because of travel restrictions due to both of the ongoing problems, which prevents those who otherwise would be able to work from doing so, and thus causes them to be unable to earn a living. It therefore works to fix that issue as well, helping to keep people sustained until restrictions are lifted. Another organization, Human is Right, has a locally built and supported Cameroon branch, advocating for education, health services, and human rights, particularly from the lens of discrimination, on both gender and linguistic fronts. They have, like African Defenders, developed various reports on the status of human rights within Cameroon and the protections available under international law to advocates within the country. This expands into the Prisoners' Rights Program, which works to see that those who are incarcerated are treated humanely, regardless of what they have or haven't done. Perhaps most importantly, HIR Cameroon, based in the southwest Cameroon region where much of the fighting has occurred, works to support peace-building efforts between both sides in the conflict. They advocate for peaceful resolution to parliament, the military, the president, and individual settlements, and work to keep the support of the local population by working with local leaders and people directly, encouraging them to start their own peace-building movements. Their programs encourage dialogue between estranged groups and examination of the causes of these conflicts in order to see how they may be resolved without the violence that is so often resorted to. Will these organizations be able to end the issues facing Cameroonians entirely? The answer is probably no. Will they be able to help, working at the roots of the issues and laying the groundwork for peace and greater prosperity? Absolutely.